drowning, forgotten, alone. Until a human broke every rule to reach her asterisk when Commander Rourke Blake crash-landed on the jungle world known only as Zyril 4. He expected to be eaten by something with too many teeth, or maybe poisoned by the glowing plants that looked like they wanted to whisper secrets into your ears. What he didn't expect was to wake up naked, strapped to a warm metal table under the cold, curious gaze of a tall alien woman with silver eyes and skin the color of twilight. She was stunning in a strange, unnerving way, tall, graceful, and so still she seemed carved from living crystal. 4 fingers moved quickly across a translucent screen. Lights blinked, drones hovered. He was being scanned, not just for injuries, but for everything: height, weight, bone density, hormone levels, musculature, heart rate. Then came the part that made Rourke blink. Genital proportions. The scanner paused. So did she. Her silver eyes narrowed slightly. For the first time, her mouth curved. Not a smile exactly. More like interest. Rourke, groggy but aware enough to be offended, managed to mutter, "Hey, at least buy me dinner first." She didn't respond, not verbally, but she entered a new note into his file. She changed his designation from specimen number 361 to viable mate candidate. And that was when he realized he wasn't being interrogated. He was being evaluated, Dr. Velshari. Xenobiologist and head of reproductive research on Zyril 4 had found something her people had long believed impossible: a compatible male, fully fertile, physically superior, with generous equipment. By her people's standards, she wasn't just scanning him. She was considering keeping him. Rourke tried to struggle, but the restraints were gentle and firm. His body felt like it had been wrapped in warm fog, a side effect of whatever sedation they'd pumped into him. He couldn't fight, couldn't move, but he could talk. "What is this? Some kind of twisted alien tinder?" She tilted her head. No answer, but her gaze dropped to his chest, lingered, then returned to his eyes, calculating, curious. She spoke then, voice low, fluid, and accented. "You are optimal." Rourke blinked. "That's not exactly the compliment I was hoping for." Velshari walked slowly around the table. She tapped her screen again. Soft hum rose, and a translucent field wrapped around Rourke's body like a scanner. Glove. It glowed brighter around certain regions, especially below the waist. She paused again. Eyebrows lifted. "Very optimal." Rourke groaned. It's better not end with tentacles. But there were no tentacles. Only the quiet hum of technology and the sharp scent of alien herbs in the air. And her gaze, always her gaze, cold and professional at first, but now warming, just slightly. Like a scientist realizing her lab rat might also be the answer to her planet's extinction problem, and surprisingly, pleasant to look at. Her people had suffered centuries of sterility, generations of clones, emotionless reproduction cycles, dead ends. Velshari had given up hope that true mating could ever happen again, until he fell from the sky. Human, male, strong, stubborn, surprisingly polite, even while strapped down. And biologically overflowing with traits her kind had long forgotten how to generate. He wasn't a prisoner. He was a miracle. As the sedation wore off, Rourke's head cleared. He noticed the symbols around the room. Medical signs, fertility charts, DNA HELIXES.O hell. He wasn't in a prison cell. He was in some kind of alien fertility lab. And she wasn't just a scientist. She was shopping. "Okay," he said, voice cracking a little. "Let's rewind. I'm Commander Blake, United Earth Command. I come in peace, ideally with pants." She finally smiled. A real one. A little crooked. A little dangerous. "I am Velshari. You are no longer cataloged." "Great," he said. "So I can leave?" "No," she replied calmly. "You are chosen." The word echoed through the room like a soft promise or a quiet sentence. Rourke stared at her. Shari stared right back. Then, slowly, she lowered the scanner, walked up to the table, and with one press of her long fingers, released the restraints. He sat up, body shaky, senses still spinning. She offered her hand. "Come," she said. "We must test compatibility." He blinked at her hand, then at her face, then lower. "Oh," he said, lips curling into a half smile. "So that's what you meant by optimal?" Her silver eyes gleamed. "You have no idea?" Commander Rourke Blake had accepted many strange things in his military career, negotiating truces with hive-minded fungus queens on crash landing, on a moon made entirely of magnetic dust, once even waking up in the wrong clone body for an entire week. But this was new. Velshari, the tall, violet-skinned scientist who had just unstrapped him from an alien scanner bed, was now walking slowly down a crystal-lit hallway. She expected him to follow. He did, mostly because he didn't have a better plan. Also because she was tall, beautiful in a sharp, elegant way, and very likely the first woman who had ever complimented him using the word genetically astonishing. Her fingers moved in precise patterns along the walls, and the doors opened without a sound. The corridor curved downward in a spiral, carved from smooth stone and glowing with veins of pale green light. The air smelled clean. Too clean. Like a lab that had never been touched by the chaos of war or sweat or life. She stopped at a wide circular chamber. Inside there was a pool, not of water, but of some softly glowing fluid, thick like gel, gently rippling, as if stirred by an invisible breeze. It was warm in the room, too warm for a jungle moon. "What is this place?" Rock asked cautiously. Stepping in after her, Velshari turned to face him, her gaze steady. "This is a compatibility chamber." "Unhung," he said slowly. "Does that involve anything invasive?" "Yes," she said, "but not painful." That didn't help. She walked to the edge of the pool and turned, hands folding in front of her. "We must determine if your biology can adapt to ours without rejection. Our scientists failed many times with clone-seeded samples. But you," she paused, voice almost reverent, "you are unaltered, untouched by synthetic filters. Fully fertile," O'Rourke muttered, trying to sound casual. "I eat a lot of protein." She didn't understand the joke. Instead, she stared at him like she was trying to map every cell in his body with her eyes. Then, something changed. She reached up, unclasped the shimmering mantle at her throat, and let it fall. Rourke's mouth went dry. She wasn't wearing much beneath it. Thin fabric, semi-translucent, draped like liquid silk. Her skin shimmered faintly in the room's biolight. Her body was lean, long-limbed with strange, subtle patterns across her abdomen, not scars, but bioluminescent markings, delicate as lace that pulsed in soft rhythm with her breathing, and her expression, calm, focused but not cold. No, there was heat in her eyes now. "You are not required to participate," she said. "You are free to decline." But she took a step closer, her voice lowered. "My people have not felt new life in 300 years. I believe you may change that. You may save us. And you would not be alone." Rourke's heart beat faster, and not just from nerves. There was something raw in her voice, underneath the science, beneath the cool, practiced words. A kind of hope that shouldn't have been possible for someone like her, a species that had given up on intimacy, on reproduction, on family. And yet, here she stood, offering him not just her body, but a future, something ancient. Could have made a joke, he could have run, but instead, he stepped forward, closer. "I didn't crash on this moon to start a relationship," he said, voice soft. "But I'm starting to think it was the best accident I ever had." Velshari tilted her head, uncertain. "So, you consent?" Rourke chuckled. "Doc, I'm more than consenting. I'm curious, intrigued, and if I'm being honest, very, very interested in whatever happens next." He reached for the hem of his own garment, the loose wrap they'd given him after the med scan, and let it drop to the floor. Her eyes dropped, widened slightly. A soft pulse lit up her markings, glowing brighter now. "Your structure," she said, almost breathless. is above expected parameters. He grinned. Thanks. You should see me when I've had coffee. She blinked at that, then smiled. Really smiled. It made her look younger, lighter, almost human. Then she took his hand. Her fingers were cooler than his, slender but strong. She pulled him toward the edge of the pool. Together, they stepped into the gel-like fluid. It clung to their skin, but didn't feel sticky, more like silk made of heat and light. His body reacted instantly, sensors in the fluid reading every nerve signal, every heartbeat. She moved closer, pressed her hand flat to his chest. The markings on her skin lit up in rhythm with his pulse. She closed her eyes. It's working. What is? Our resonance, she whispered. We are sinking. I don't know what that means, he said. It means, she said, slowly lifting her face to his. You're not just compatible. You're perfect. Rourke leaned in. Their foreheads touched. Her breath was sweet and strange and warm. You still want to test me? He asked. Valshari's hand slid lower, slow and deliberate. I wish to know you, she said. And after that, he murmured. She smiled against his lips. After that, she said, I'll decide whether I let you leave. But neither of them moved for a long time because neither of them wanted to leave. Asterisk. Rourke woke up with something soft wrapped around him. Not silk, not fabric. Something living. Warm vines, glowing faintly, had coiled around his arms and legs during the night. Not tightly, not like chains, more like a protective blanket. That had gotten a little clingy. He blinked. The chamber was dim now, pulsing with slow, dreamy light, as if the walls themselves were asleep. The gel pool had receded into the floor, leaving no trace. Valshari was gone, and for the first time in hours, he was alone. His body still tingled from whatever the hell that resonance process had been. His mind felt foggy, not from drugs, but from whatever she'd done to connect with him. It wasn't just physical, something deeper, emotional. He felt her in his chest, missed his nerves. He sat up, brushing the vines off his skin. They uncoiled, without resistance, like they were sad to let him go. Yeah, I get it, he muttered. She's hard to walk away from. Still, he had questions. Big ones. Why hadn't she handed him over to her authorities? Why was he being treated more like a guest than a prisoner? And most importantly, was she really serious about keeping him? Rourke stood, stretched, and looked around for an exit. There were no visible doors. Only a faint crack in the crystalline wall where the biogel had drained. He walked to it, hand against the cool surface, and whispered the only alien word he remembered from their earlier conversation. Open. Nothing happened. He tried again. Open sesame. Still nothing. Then he muttered, Okay, now I definitely feel like a specimen. The wall shimmered and opened. He stared at it. You've got to be kidding me. Either the wall responded to sarcasm, or someone was watching. Either way, it was now or never. The hallway outside was empty, silent. No guards, no drones, just glowing tiles and the low hum of alien tech. He walked quickly, no idea where he was going. Just away. Left turn. Ramp. Another. Turn. More lights. A big statue of what looked like an alien goddess holding an egg? Nope, he muttered, and kept walking. After 15 minutes, he hit what looked like a shuttle bay. One actual ship. Sleek. Silver. Vines growing through it like it had been abandoned for years. But it had a cockpit, and a chair, and a console. He climbed inside and tapped the interface. It blinked to life. Not in English, but close enough that he could guess which button probably meant start. He reached for it, don't. The voice stopped him cold. He turned. Valshari stood at the edge of the platform. No anger, no weapon, just her. Calm, eyes unreadable, skin glowing faintly. In the low light, you weren't locked in, she said softly. You were resting. He stood there for a moment, hands still hovering over the console. I don't do well in cages, he replied. This isn't a cage. He raised an eyebrow. Then what would you call this? Your love dungeon? She blinked, tilted her head. "I do not know this word, but I like the sound of it." That almost made him laugh. "Almost. I don't know what's going on," he said. "I don't know why you chose me or what that thing was at the pool, but I'm not ready to be someone's science project." Valshari stepped closer, slowly. No threat in her movement. Just deliberate, careful motion, like approaching something skittish. "You are not a project. You are unprecedented," crossed his arms. "Yeah, I got that from the full-body scan, and the extra-long stare at my... You misunderstand." She cut in gently. "You are the first being I have ever felt. Your biology is only part of it. Your presence, your voice, your refusal to obey." He paused. "That last one's a compliment." "In my culture," she said, stepping closer again, "it is." Deeply arousing, Rourke blinked. "Well, I'm flattered." Then something in her expression changed. A flicker of vulnerability beneath the cool professionalism. "I have never asked someone to stay," she said, "until now." He looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just some cold scientist. Not anymore. Not to him. There was a tremble in her fingers, just barely. She was scared. Of him, of what they'd started. Of the fact that maybe, for the first time, it wasn't just data or biology or protocol. It was feeling, and damn it, it scared him too. Rourke exhaled and stepped away from the console. "I wasn't going to leave," he said. "I just needed to know I could." Valshari nodded. "You can." He took one slow step toward her. "You said your people haven't connected like this. Not in centuries." She nodded again. "So how do you know this is real?" She reached up, placed a hand on his chest, right over his heart. "Because when you are near," she said, voice low, "I remember what my ancestors called longing. And when you pulled away, I remembered something else." "What?" "Fear." He swallowed. Then he reached up and placed his hand over hers. "I don't want to make you afraid," he said, "but I'm not used to this either. I've never connected with someone this fast." Valshari blinked. "Neither have I." They stood in silence. Then slowly, she whispered, "Will you stay? If I ask is not a subject, not a project, just as you." He looked at her glowing eyes, her trembling hand, her body that had never known touch that wasn't for reproduction or ritual. And he said, "I'll stay, but on one condition." She stiffened. He leaned in. No more surprise scans, especially down there. Valshari stared at him for a moment. Then she laughed. The sound was soft, musical, real. It echoed in the bay like the beginning of something new. Not science, not conquest, but connection. And Rourke, tough, sarcastic. Stubborn Earthman realized something terrifying. He didn't want to escape. Anymore, he wanted to explore her, this place, this feeling. And maybe, just maybe, whatever came next, asterisk later that cycle. The stars outside Zir Alpha glowed like silent watchers beyond the bioglass dome of Valshari's private habitat. Twin moons crept low across the sky, casting gentle silver beams through the vineless windows. The air inside pulsed with the quiet hum of energy fields, filtered warmth. And something even more rare in this place, anticipation. Rourke Blake sat on a wide, plush surface that could only be described as a bed, though it looked like a cross between a moss-covered altar and a futuristic massage table. Pillows made of something soft and alive shifted beneath his weight as he leaned back. Watching Valshari as she moved across the room, she wasn't in a lab coat this time. She wore something flowing and sheer, layered just enough to be considered clothing, but too thin to hide the curves beneath. Bioluminescent lines glowed faintly across her skin, not just decorative now, but responsive, shifting with every breath, every glance she cast toward him. "You said you had questions," she said. "Not facing him yet, I've got a few." Rourke replied, his voice a mix of curiosity and dry amusement. Starting with, "Why does your furniture feel like it's breathing?" She turned, that faint alien smile returning. "It is. Everything in this habitat is semi-organic. It's designed To respond to its occupants, it adapts to comfort. The cushion beneath Rourke suddenly shifted slightly, cradling him better. Okay, that's either very cool or a little too intimate. She approached him now, barefoot, fluid. Her presence both serene and charged. Then let's talk about intimacy, she said, pausing just in front of him. You asked why I called you perfect. It wasn't just physical, though she let her eyes drift downward meaningfully. That was a factor. Rourke raised a brow. I am flattered. Belshari sank to her knees beside him, placing her hand on his bare thigh, just enough pressure to signal interest. Not demand. Our species bred out physical passion centuries ago. Efficiency replaced desire. Reproduction became medical, not emotional. The concept of mating with pleasure is considered primitive. She looked up at him, her eyes glowing brighter. You make me question everything I was taught. Yeah. We humans have a habit of doing that. Rourke's voice was low, teasing. We show up, break rules, and somehow still get invited back for dinner. Belshari smiled again, but this time it didn't reach her eyes. But this isn't dinner, Rourke. This is something my people would exile me for. You're not just a foreign species, you're a risk, a temptation. An anomaly, right? He said softly. Miracle meat. She tilted her head, amused despite herself. Your euphemisms are strange, but oddly arousing. He reached for her hand, held it. You sure this is what you want? We just met. I'm flattered, obviously, but I'm not exactly. Boyfriend material. I leave socks everywhere and I snore. Belshari climbed up beside him slowly, gracefully. Like a large feline approaching prey, it had no intention of eating. Yet I do not know what a boyfriend is. But I know that my body responds to yours, that when I hear your voice, my bioluminescent fields sync with your frequency, that when you touch me, my systems register safety and desire at once. She straddled his legs now, not touching yet. Hovering, you are not just a match. You are a catalyst. He met her gaze, serious now. This isn't just sex, is it? No, she said. It is far more dangerous than that. She leaned in, and he felt the faintest brush of her lips. Against his cool, curious, trembling with suppressed need, it wasn't just a kiss. It was contact across species, across biology, across loneliness. Her breath hitched. Rourke gently took her waist, surprised at how delicate she felt, not weak. Just unarmored in this moment, Belshari pulled back half an inch, breathing hard. Her eyes wide. My system is reacting faster than I expected. You and me both, Doc, he said, voice rough. I want to initiate a sync bond, she whispered. It is the xyrilene equivalent of a trial mating, if it succeeds. Our bodies will recognize each other, recognize biologically, neurologically, emotionally. Swallowed. What happens if it fails? She paused. You'll feel like your chest is collapsing. Your nervous system may attempt to reject me. But I have modified the parameters to reduce the risk. Modified? He asked, narrowing his eyes. How? I may have taken a few liberties with protocol and with your genome. His heart skipped. You've edited me? No, she said quickly. I mapped you. I studied you. That sounds oddly hotter than it should. She touched his cheek. Do you want this, Rourke Blake? He met her eyes. If we do this, we're not just experimenting. No, she said. We're beginning. He nodded then. Yeah, he said, wrapping his arms around her. Let's begin. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. The world vanished in a bloom of light. His skin tingled, his breath caught, and suddenly he felt her, not just her touch, her thoughts, her heartbeat. A kind of joining, a language of skin and breath and mind, and when her body finally melted into his. When their skin met without barriers, her sigh was not one of lust, but of recognition. Their sync was successful. The room pulsed with light, and two beings, who had been strangers across galaxies, became something far more than compatible. They became connected. Asterisk. The next morning came in slow waves of gold and violet light. 04's twin suns rose together, casting long shadows through the semi-organic dome of Velshari's chamber. The vines had curled back from the windows as if giving them privacy during the night, and now slowly opened again to let the warmth in. Rourke stirred. He didn't wake like a soldier. He didn't snap up from a nightmare or flinch from the weight of some past war. He woke like a man who had for once been touched gently, not just by another person's hands, but by something older, something needed. Velshari was curled against him, her long limbs wrapped like vines around his chest, her head resting on his shoulder. Her skin was warm now, warmer than before, as if his presence had changed something in her chemistry. The soft glow of her body markings had dimmed during sleep, but faint pulses still shimmered across her spine, slow, steady, syncing with his own heartbeat. Her breathing was deep and peaceful, like someone who had forgotten what peace felt like, then finally remembered. He didn't move, didn't want to break the spell, but eventually she stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, silver irises, catching the morning light, and for the first time, she looked unsure. "Was I too much?" she asked, voice low and still husky from sleep. Rourke smiled. "Doc, if you were any more too much, I'd be dead from dehydration and smiling the whole time." Her lips curved. She buried her face in his chest. "Your humor is comforting." "Humor," he said, brushing his hand over her hair, "is how we survive. Well, that and strong coffee." She lifted her head slightly. "Coffee. I've read of this. Bitter bean liquid. Makes your blood speed up. Sounds like us last night." She blinked once, then laughed. A soft, glowing sound. Rourke decided he liked making her laugh. He wanted to hear it again. Every day if he could, but as the laughter faded, something else crept in. Stillness. Velshari sat up slightly, drawing the thin silken sheet around her. Her back to him now. She stared out at the glowing jungle canopy outside the dome. "There will be consequences," she said softly. Rourke propped himself up on an elbow. "For what?" "Enjoying each other's company. For claiming a mate," she corrected. "Without genetic approval, without council oversight, without permission." He watched her shoulders tense. "Are they going to send a strongly worded email? Or is this more of a come with us or get vaporized situation?" Velshari didn't answer immediately. "Then they will come, but not immediately. The sync bond creates a chemical masking field. They will not detect it until it stabilizes. By then," she trailed off. "By then what?" he asked gently. She turned to face him. Her expression was unreadable, beautiful, and scared. "By then," she whispered, "I may not be willing to let you go." Rourke felt something shift in his chest. Not fear, not lust, something far more dangerous, hope. He reached for her hand, held it gently. "You don't have to let go. Not unless you want to. I want to protect you." "Then let me protect you too." She studied him. Her gaze didn't flicker away. "There is something else." He raised an eyebrow. "Please don't tell me you laid an egg. I am not ready for that conversation." Her lips quirked again, but the moment didn't last. "Your body," she said slowly, "has already begun adapting to mine. Your pheromones have shifted. Your blood chemistry is slightly changed. You are altering." He blinked. "Wait, what?" "Not in a dangerous way," she said quickly. "More like your biology recognizes mine now, as safe, as bonded. It means the sync took hold faster than expected." "Side effects?" She hesitated. "Then you may become emotionally attuned. My moods will affect yours, my pain, my desire." "Well," he muttered, "that explains the strange dream I had about braiding your hair while wearing only a jungle leaf." Her eyes widened. "You dreamed that?" "I don't want to talk about it." She shifted closer again, touching his face. "This connection, it is sacred to my people. Ancient, rare. But it was not meant to happen with outsiders. They will consider it a contamination." Rourke leaned forward, pressing his forehead gently to hers. Then we'll contaminate the whole damn moon. Together. For a moment, they just breathed. Then, the silence shattered. A loud chime echoed. Through the chamber, sharp, repetitive, urgent. Velshari's body went rigid. Perimeter breach, Rourke sat up, instantly alert. Visitors, no. Her voice dropped. Scouts, council observers. Too early. He stood, grabbing the nearest piece of clothing, or what passed for it. Options. Velshari was already moving to the central console, her markings flaring bright with adrenaline. There's a hidden tunnel below the observatory. We can flee. Rourke stepped closer. Or we face them. She turned, eyes wide. You don't understand. They won't negotiate. You are an anomaly, and anomalies are corrected. He smirked. Then let's be the exception. Velshari froze, and in that moment, she knew it was already too late to go back. Because she didn't just want him, it's anymore she needed him, and not just as a mate, as a partner, as the man who might just rewrite the future of her entire species. She walked toward him, took his hand, and together, they disappeared into the tunnel beneath the chamber, running not from each other, but toward a future no one had written yet. Not her people, not the council, not science, just them. Just together. The tunnel was dark, but not lifeless. The walls breathed. Not metaphorically, actually breathed. Soft pulses of air flowed along the curved surface, as if the structure itself were helping them escape. The path beneath their feet lit with dim bioluminescence, adjusting to their steps. Everything in Velshari's world was alive in some way. It's built for harmony, designed for symbiosis. Now, it was all helping them run. Rourke kept pace beside her, his footsteps sure, despite the strange terrain. He didn't ask where they were going. He didn't complain. He just followed, not because he was lost, but because he trusted her. That realization struck her. Hard he trusted her, when her own people never had. They reached a sealed arch at the tunnel's end. Velshari placed her hand against the interface, whispering a string of alien syllables. The wall peeled open like the petals of some giant metal flower, revealing an old shuttle bay hidden beneath layers of root and stone. A craft sat in the center, small, rusted but intact. Velshari approached it quickly, already working the codes to awaken its systems. We can hide in the Evershadow Belt, she said, not looking at him. The magnetic storms will scramble their scanners. Rourke glanced around. You've had this planned for a while, haven't you? She hesitated and nodded. I had hoped, but I didn't expect to feel not like this. He stepped up behind her, resting a hand on her back. You can still walk away, Vel. I won't blame you. You've got everything to lose. She turned to face him. Her markings glowed softly, not from fear, but from something else. Something warmer? I did lose everything, she said. And then you came. And suddenly, I want something more than survival. His hand slid to her cheek. And let's survive together. Her lips parted slightly, not for words, but for the kiss that followed. Slow, certain, full of the kind of tension that didn't rush, but promised something lasting. The ship powered up around them. Lights flickered. Vines peeled away. Engines coughed and then purred. They were almost free, but nothing that good comes easy. A warning alarm blared across the bay. Incoming vessel, military grade, scanning for organic anomalies. Velshari's face went pale. They're early. Rourke's eyes narrowed. Time for Plan B. I don't have a Plan B, she said. He grinned. Good, I brought one. He marched toward the outer controls of the old bay, a console half covered in moss. They're scanning for us. Right? Heat signatures, pheromonal trails, biological fusion. Yes. They'll detect our sync pattern in minutes. Not if there's too much noise to track it, he muttered. Rourke began punching in overrides. Old code, alien symbols. He didn't know half of what he was doing, but he knew machines. He knew pressure. And most of all, he knew distraction tactics. The bay's power grid hummed louder. Panels began to overload. Drones sparked from the ceiling. What are you doing? Velshari called. Lighting a fire in the haystack, he said, "If they want to find us, they'll have to crawl through a dozen fake trails, biohazards, and a hell of a light show." She stared. "You are?" It's infuriating. "You're welcome," she rushed. To the ship, prepped it for launch. As the countdown began, she looked over at him, sweat on his brow, dirt on his face. A man who had no reason to stay, but was risking everything anyway. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you helping me? You could have run." Turned, met her eyes. "Because I've seen too many people leave when things got complicated," he said. "But this, the first thing in a long time that made me want to fight towards something instead of away from it." The engines roared, the bay shook. She reached out, grabbed his hand, and together they climbed aboard the ship just as the ceiling cracked and the first scout probe descended. The vessel lifted, broke through the false rock covering, and launched into the sky. The planet below fell away. Fire, light, storm, all chasing them. But in the cockpit, in that small, stolen ship built for two, there was something stronger than fear. There was choice, and to people, not bound by species or law or duty, but by something ancient, the will to belong. Velshari leaned her head on his shoulder as the stars opened up in front of them. "They'll chase us," she whispered. "Let them," he said. "You're worth it." Her hand found his. This time, it wasn't biology. It was love. Raw, real, reckless, and exactly what neither of them ever expected to survive for. Asterisk, the ship drifted in silent orbit over a dead planet called Aurealis 3. Long abandoned, its atmosphere barely breathable, but its surface warm. It's hidden beneath ion storms that scrambled all long-range scans. Perfect. Velshari sat at the navigation console, wrapped in one of Rourke's old flight jackets, too big for her slender frame. Sleeves rolled up, collar loose around her neck. The synthetic leather carried his scent. Earth, steel, a little sweat, a lot of stubbornness. He was in the next room, trying to repair the old galley generator, while cursing in 3 languages. This was their new normal, a broken ship, rogue orbit. A future built on parts they hadn't even found yet, and yet she had never felt safer, never felt more alive. The sync bond had stabilized days ago. Her body no longer flickered with confusion or rejection. It pulsed in rhythm with his now, not just hormones, something deeper. Her own cells had begun to shift slightly, adapting to his proximity, and something else had started to something inside her. When Rourke finally wandered back into the cockpit, shirt half in zipped grease, on his hands, she watched him the way her ancestors might have watched fire. Awed, cautious, drawn in anyway. "I fixed the coffee thing," he said, flopping into the co-pilot seat with a groan. "It now makes something that tastes like regret and burnt tire, but it's hot, so we're calling it progress." She blinked. "I don't know what half those words mean, but I accept the gift." He smiled, eyes crinkling. "You're adapting well to sarcasm. I had an excellent teacher." She reached out and took his hand without hesitation. "Any more no calculations? Just want Rourke," she said softly. "There's something I must show you." He raised an eyebrow. "You're not secretly some kind of Xyrilene royalty, are you? Because I left my crown in the escape pod." She stood, took his hand, led him back through the corridor, not to the chamber where they first bonded, but to the med-dash lab. She tapped the console. A holographic display flickered to life. At first, it was just shifting data, pulse rhythms, chemical readings, compatibility stats. But then, a single clear scan appeared, a flickering sphere inside her abdomen, pulsing with 2 heartbeats. Rourke stared, blinked once. Is that what I think it is?" Yes, she said quietly. "Your biology was more dominant than expected. It overrode genetic resistance. I am carrying a hybrid." He was silent. Then, "Holy shit," Velshari frowned. "Is that a positive or a negative exclamation?" He laughed, short, sharp, overwhelmed. Then he reached for her face with both hands and kissed her. It wasn't slow or polite. It was raw, joyful, disbelieving. When he finally pulled back, he was breathless. "You're telling me that in addition to being the best accident of my life, I'm now the father of the first human Zarillan baby in galactic history?" She smiled faintly. "Technically, our child would be the first natural birth on Zyralline record in 312 years. And yes, you are the father." He leaned back against the wall, dragging a hand through his hair. "Humanity, F***. Yeah." She giggled, actually giggled, and covered her mouth like she wasn't sure what that sound was. "I wasn't supposed to be capable of this," she said. "None of us were." They said the line was dead. Extinct. But somehow, your presence rewrote the rules. "Story of our species," Rourke said, walking toward her. "Show us a locked door. We blow it open. Tell us we're incompatible. And, well, apparently we prove otherwise." She rested her hands on her belly, still flat but warm with promise. "I will be exiled for this." He touched her chin. "Then they don't deserve you. It will come eventually," she warned. "They'll try to take you, or the child, to study, to dissect." Rourke's expression turned cold, steely. "Let them try." She shivered, not from fear, from the fire in his voice. For all her people's advancements, their engineered perfection, their centuries of sterile control, they had never created anything like him. Not just strong, not just fertile, willing to fight, to stay, to build. That was the real miracle. Not his DNA, not his size, not even the pleasure he gave her, though that still made her glow in. Places science hadn't explained. It was his choice. He had chosen her, not as a curiosity, not as an experiment. As home, later that night, they sat under the dome watching a comet drift across the sky. Her head on his shoulder, his hand on her stomach, the stars above like scattered seeds. "I don't know where we'll end up," she murmured. He nodded. "Me neither. But I want the child to have a name that means something." He looked at her like, "What?" She smiled, that quiet, dangerous, loving smile. "Kira in Old Zyralline. Oh, it means born of two fires." Rourke kissed her temple. Perfect. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of space, in the stolen warmth of two bodies wrapped around something utterly new, a future sparked, not engineered, not planned, but chosen, and it would burn bright for generations. The end.